Comes out your son. You burn this wine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes I say them heart no kind. Buxton massive. Kidaki. Red that. Comes out your son. You burn this wine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in the Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Tom's TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruption over land and sea, where the wicked politicians they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. There's one set of people getting aisle money. There's one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, which has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Kentucky, Amsterdam, Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London, Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Port People Governor, Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson, Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Comes TV, where wisdom and knowledge. Yes,
it is 7 hours 22 on the 7th day of August in the year 2024. It's still Liberation Month, yeah? And it's Wednesday, so we're going to have Dr. Hines in the house. Who's calling me? Why are you for? Let me see. Good morning. How may I help you? I'm okay.
The fire burning ready.
You recognize this is not a calling period, right?
We got keep
no. What you were listening to is yesterday's broadcast.
Hey, Babylon boy, you go like come son.
Yes, so calling will be sometime after 8. Feel free to make that call. Got you. Yes, money on your mind. So there was a caller there who wanted to express himself on a particular issue. And certainly he's going to get the opportunity when we open up the lines today. But the meantime, between time, it is 24 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour. How you doing? How you doing? How was your last night? How you passed yesterday? What happened that was significant yesterday and gives you hope for today? What are your aspirations today? What do you expect to come from this government? Do you expect a change in behavior? There are lots of things that we could be talking about, but definitely we're still in Emancipation Month. And so I would want to continue to talk about those issues which are affecting African Guyanese in particular. Dr. Hines is in the room. Dr. Hines, welcome to you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks, Anthony. Again.
We are still in the month of Emancipation, Liberation Month, as I like to call it. It's just, as a matter of fact, 7 days into August month. We've had a number of activities in Buxton, as we normally do, to commemorate, to celebrate, to recognize the importance of emancipation and Emancipation Month and so on, Emancipation Day and so on. We've just completed the libation ceremony and the Black is Beautiful cultural evening on the Buxton line top. And then we did the UC symposium at the Tipperary Hall. Coming out of all of those activities, a lot of things, I would say, arose, things that grabbed the national attention. But I want us to talk about Nigel Hughes, leader of the ASC, Aubrey Norton, leader of the PNC, and yourself on the stage of the Black is Beautiful concert. Some people are saying, number one, we have taken a cultural event and turned it into a political platform. I want you to address that to start with. And then secondly, I see Randy Singh writing about what occurred in Buxton on the night of the 31st, and he had a lot to say. So we are also
Randy Prasad.
Randy Prasad, sorry. Yes.
The advisor to the government, the presidential advisor.
Yes, so we're going to go there eventually.
So you were speaking on behalf of the government.
Right.
So you can take that as the government position.
Right. So let's start about what was the significance, or what is the significance of three well-known, respected African Guyanese leaders, activists on the same stage on the night of the 31st?
Well, those are the three political leaders in the African Guyanese community. They're not the only leaders, but they're the three top political leaders, you know, the three parties that are organizing and have some roots in the African Guyanese community. So it was only apt, I think, that they address African Guyanese, and we took the bold step in Buxton to afford them a platform to do that. Now, you alluded to the fact that there was a tiny minority of people who would normally organize these events with us. You know, I think innocently taking the position that, you know, the cultural event was too political, you know, or some of them put it more drastically than that, that we turned into political. No, I'm saying I'm in sympathy with those people. First of all, they don't know, they don't know the history of 1st of August movement. We've been around since 1969. I joined in 1974. And we have always had what I call a political-cultural approach to emancipation. Emancipation was a political act. It was an act of freedom, breaking away from plantation slavery and freeing ourselves. There's no greater political act than that. And so those who talk about emancipation as something where we dance and sing and eat, and not put it in context, are just politically backward or politically naive. And so the 1st of August movement has always had that approach. You know, we always had the New Year's address by Brother UC first, and then later on I took up that mantle. We always had invited leaders. We at one year we invited Dr. Jagan to come speak. We had George Lamin, the famous novelist and political activist, come in to speak. Dr. James Rose, and a number of people came through Buxton to speak at Emancipation, political people. So this foolishness about emancipation not being political is exactly what I said. It's foolish. In that case, at the time when the government is hammering African Guyanese politically, it is moral and it is politically correct for African Guyanese to use every moment at their disposal to fight back against the political hammering by this government. And so we in Buxton have no apologies to make to those. We are in sympathy with those few of our comrades who still believe our role is to sing and dance for massa and not to fight massa. Well, we believe that we must sing and dance for ourselves, and we must use that and other means to fight massa. And that's what we did. Last year, they gave us $500,000, which was a third of our budget, and they attempted to use it as a bribe, to say the government is giving you $500,000, but in exchange for that, you must have PPP leaders come and speak. And they attempted that in the form of the Prime Minister calling us and saying he's coming to speak and he will speak last. And I had to make it very clear. That money that you give is the government money. And we are not going to be bribed by that money. That money is not going to buy you a place on our stage. No, no, no. And we were setting an example to Africans in the rest of Guyana. If the government gives you government money, do not believe that you are obligated to put people on your stage. And we in Buxton said no. And this year, they decided, you all said no, well, no money for you all. And we said, thank you much. You have done us. You have done us a great service because you have forced us, if we need any force, to return to our roots. Our roots in the African community have always been at Emancipation. We do our things ourselves. We finance our own activity. Brother Guyanese, to have us, we go around the village to all those who were working, and they would contribute a minimum of $1. People would cook food and bring. It doesn't matter whether you were PNC or WPA in the village. We finance our own activity. And last year, we went back to those roots. And this year, we anticipated that they were going to come with that nonsense. They weren't going to give us money. And so we went public and we raised as much money as we could raise. And what we couldn't raise, we put our hands in our pockets, those of us who are members of the organization, to make it happen. Now, here is the outcome. We are the only village that they either did not hold an alternative event, a competing event, as they did in other places. They set up competing events. And in places where they didn't set up competing events, they took over. They gave the people government money and they took over the events. I understand this happened in the rest of these villages, Buxton and Betrayal and so on. Now, Buxton is the only place they did not venture to hold a competing event, or they could not bribe with government money. I want to repeat that. The only place, the only major African Guyanese locale, because they targeted the major places, New Amsterdam, Georgetown, then Amstel, Betrayal, Buxton. Buxton is the only place they didn't come and hold a competing event, or they couldn't bribe us with money. What does that say? It says that something unique happened in Buxton. And what is that unique thing? It is that political people in the village gave leadership. And it's a model that I think other villages and our political parties have to look at. We in the WPA gave leadership to Buxton, and we prevented the vultures. We prevented the evil people from coming into our village. And we didn't stretch our hands looking for money, so they couldn't bribe us. And they learned last year, even if the government gives us money, we cannot be bribed. If we, the political people, were not there to give our village leadership, they would have come into Buxton. And the lesson, therefore, is that parties like the PNC ought to begin to give defense and defend their territory. WPA defended Buxton and protected Buxton from the rest to come in. Look, our people either doesn't understand this war that is taking place, or they understand it, and they are surrendering to it. the political party must not only organize nationally, it must organize and mobilize locally. That's the Guyana method. That we are national, but we are also local. And if the PNC and the AFC, and you can also say the WPA, are given more leadership in our villages, nothing like the could have gone in to those villages and do what they did. Where were the PNC leaders in Hope Town, in Belladrum? Where were they? Protecting their people. What it means is that you've got to raise your own money. And you've got to mobilize your people. And that's what we did in Buxton. We raised our own money and we mobilized our people so that they could not come through and send slave catchers to catch our people. We are in a new era, and political parties that are operating in the African Guyanese community have to get real. They can't only come to us when they won votes. They must be there to defend us and protect us. And that is what I wanted to show. That is what we wanted to show in Buxton. That is why we could get the major leaders to come there. Everybody else would have been afraid to do that. In all fairness, I went up to New Amsterdam on Emancipation there, and on the program they had Norton, Nigel Hughes, and myself. Nigel didn't show up. Norton and I spoke. So they were bold enough to do the same thing there. But we did it at a larger scale in Buxton, and we went one step further by calling the leaders on stage and to have them stand before our people and talk to them. That is what emancipation is about. It is not just singing and dancing and eating. It's about fighting. And we declared victory in Buxton because we kept the marauders out of our village and we did not stretch beyond looking for a penny.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. A lot of people see the presence of the PPP representatives, the government's representatives in these Afro-Guyanese communities on Emancipation Day, people dancing masquerade for them, functioning with them, and having them have their presence felt in those communities as a betrayal of the African cause. They see the organizers as betrayers and PPP puppets. What's your opinion? Is it that, or they are just were just gullible for the moment?
Well, gullibility is also part of betrayal. Some of them are gullible, and I don't understand how can you be gullible? How can you look? Excuse me. Look around, see what the PPP is doing to school teachers, black school teachers. See what the PPP is doing to public servants. See what the PPP is doing to people in Mocha and Hillfoot and Mackenzie and all over the place. How can you look and see what the PPP is doing to young black men? How can you look and see what the PPP is doing to Ipadaji and invite them into your communities? That is more than just gullibility. That is betrayal. That is betrayal. And the time has come for us to make our move in these villages and to have a serious conversation with these people. There are PPP sympathizers in Buxton. We know that they're there. But they did not do what others in the other communities did. They stood down. They stood down. And I don't have a problem with people being members of the PPP. My problem is when you bring the PPP in to catch your people as if they're slaves. Then there's where we fight. And the PPP sympathizers in Buxton did not do that. They did it in other communities. And that is a betrayal of the African Guyanese cause.
I know you did say that political leaders have therefore to be in these communities and do more work. My assumption is to educate the followers and have them be in a better position to recognize the traps that are being set. Is that the only solution to?
No, I am not on the solution, brother. Don't carry me down that road. I'm dealing with what is happening. I am saying that political parties operating in the ethnic communities must understand their function is not just only to get people's votes. That the function is also to defend and to protect those communities.
Understand loudly and clearly. Now, in the same breath, we saw the article from Dr. Randy Prasad. Like you said, Randy Prasad is an advisor to the president. And therefore, when he speaks, one has all right to assume it's the government's position. I shared that article with viewers yesterday. And some of the things that we definitely recognize. Randy Prasad and the government continues to say WP is a dead party. WP has no following, yet they accuse WP of being ethnocentric. What's your quick response to that?
No, they accuse the WP of creating a miracle. They accuse the WP of forging unity among our political leaders. Or
well, I was taking it in parts, but you can address the entire article.
Right. That's the gist of the article. And they're trying to tell the AFC and the PNC that how can you allow the weakest link to bring you together? Well, maybe what you call it the weakest link is really not the weakest link. If the weakest link can do what you are saying that we did, then we are not a weak link. In the end, the article was about the WP. It was about the WP. And the PPP knows that the WPA's role continues to be a very important role. We are not the type of party that, calls ourselves a big party. That term big party, we are not, but we do our work. We do our work every day, and our work is showing dividends. Dividends. Everywhere I go and I move around quite a lot. I move around quite a lot. In the villages, as I said, I made it up to New Amsterdam on Emancipation Day. I went into the park on Emancipation Day, and I know what people's responses are to us. The thing about it is that we don't do polls. And whenever polls are done, the political parties do polls. The AFC, I understand, is doing some polls, and they are polling to find out about the AFC. The PNC, I understand, are doing polls. They are doing polls, and their polls is to find out about the PNC. We in the WP are not in a financial position to commission polls. You see, so we are not able to say definitively where or measure our standings, therefore, in a scientific poll. But we know what we are doing, and we know that what we are doing is showing dividends. And it is for those who were the political opinion shapers who doesn't. They don't consider WPA when they're talking. You know, it used to be PNC and PPP. And then Nigel came in, and so they put the AFC and so on. And that is a failing of our political shapers. So when things happen, they're shocked. In any other country in the world, bar none, any other country, Nigel Hughes, Aubrey Norton, and myself on that stage would have been front page headline in any other country in the world, except Guyana. Except Guyana.
Why not Guyana?
Except Guyana. The newspapers did not even cover Emancipation this year. They did not even cover. Usually they would put on the front page pictures of the national park because they don't go out to Georgetown. This year they did not even do that. You all understand the assault on black people? It's not just the PPP. It's also the status quo outside of the PPP. That's assaulting black people's dignity in this country.
So in the same Randy Prasad article, the WPA is accused of preferring to see the hydrocarbons left, right, where they are. In short, the WPA is being...
No. They didn't accuse us of that. Be fair to them.
Dr. Hines, let me bring the article up because I would rather read the article than make such an error.
Yeah.
These days, the right-wing nationalists in Ghana are fond of crying out the most egregious acts on foreign capital. The WPA, AFC, and PNC, as well as surrogates such as the OGGN and right-wing nationalists like GHK Lal, have daily assaulted the integrity of Exxon and partners. For these right-wing nationalists, the door should be slammed shut on foreign investors. These far-right nationalists concoct their discourses along the lines of ethnic oppression. The ultimate aim is to leave the hydrocarbons deep in the ocean. Am I misinterpreting that, sir? Please
well,
explain.
you know the WPA is not part of that. They put us in the group that they say are anti-capitalist. And so therefore we don't want foreign investment in the country. That's the big lesson of that thing that part that you read there. It's a way to say to the Americans, don't shift your allegiance from the PPP. Don't stop supporting the PPP. Keep us in office. Don't go over to them. That is pointed at the Americans to say, oh God, don't abandon me and put your allegiance to them over there because they don't like capitalism and they don't like you. That's the lesson of that passage. Hydrocarbon is only thrown in there as gravy. But the major lesson is to say to the Americans, these people are anti-foreign capital. They're anti-capitalist. And so you must continue to support the PPP that you put in office in 2020 and don't shift to them. That's the high lesson here.
Well, I'm glad you brought out the lesson because while I did not get to complete the question, I was about to ask you what was really what is really the intention of such claims or placing the WPA in such light as being anti-capitalist, anti-Exxon, and so on. I think further down in the article or somewhere along the way, the PPP in general also seeks to promote the WPA as anti-elections. Why this dead party? Yeah. Let me finish. Why this dead party? This party, because the article also says WPA has no following. Why this dead party that has no following is of such concern to the PPP and the positions of this dead party is so concerning to the people? Why?
Well, you know, look, you have to first of all call your enemy dead. I sometimes hear them say the PNC is dead. I read somewhere this morning, somebody in this morning papers say if you call an election now, the government will win 2/3 because the PNC is in disarray and all these things. So in many regards, they've pronounced all the opposition parties dead. The PNC is alive, but they're dead because they're fighting Mati. The FC is dead meat. The WPA dead since Rodney in 1980, when you were 8 years old, right? So you should not be alive today because the WPA died in 1980. No, that's the rhetoric. But you have to contend with the dead. Even if they're dead, when you're dead, it's your zombie that's frightening people. So they're pronounced as dead, but they have to deal with the zombies of the dead that they have created. And that's a matter for them. They don't want to deal with us living. They kill us, and so they must deal with our zombies.
Thank you, Hines. And I will continue from the very article because I think obviously the narrative, who controls the narrative, in many instances can win the battle. And the PPP definitely has media presence. They control a large section of the Guyanese media. And so some of these things definitely must be responded to so that people have a clear understanding of what's happening. As for the WPA, it needs to reflect on what it is. In the old days, it was a Marxist group combined with strong progressive black nationalism. The WPA lost its voice in the immediate years after 1992. It had wanted Hoyt to be the quote-unquote consensus candidate. Without any shame, it suggested that Chedi Jagan was politically divisive by the final years of the 20th century. The WPA became a veritable right-wing ethnic movement dedicated to the rise of only one section of the Guyanese population. The WPA has no following in Ghana. It is made up of a handful of foreign academics who get plenty of space in the newspapers. They combine this with social media attacks on the democratic sensibilities of the Guyanese people. The debate about ethics and morality does concern the WPA. This is because they do things only for expediency. A lot in that paragraph, I think I want you to address. You've heard it. And so I would like you to respond to the several claims there.
Which part? There's several things.
Let's start, for example, as to why in the years, why did the WP object to Chedi Jagan's presidential candidacy, if that it is thing, and preferred Hoyt as the consensus candidate leading up to those elections?
The narrative is wrong. The facts are wrong. The facts are wrong.
Set them right.
When elections were due in 1990, Jimmy Carter came and he brokered an agreement. And so we could not have elections in 1990 because part of the agreement was a new voters list. And in order to get a new voters list, you had to know household registration and so forth. So the elections were postponed from 1990 and they were eventually held in 1992. The WPA proposed that for those 2 years, the PNC should not continue in office. We should have a national government because the PNC term had ended in 1990, and that we should have a national government that includes the opposition parties and the PNC. And we suggested that Hoyt, as the incumbent president, should remain as president of the transition government for those 2 years. The PPP said Hoyt would not agree to it. But we were free to go and talk with Hoyt. And the WPA went and spoke with Hoyt, and Hoyt promptly agreed to a national government between 1990 and 1992 that would have included the PPP, the WPA, the PNC. That is little known. When we went back to the PPP, they said they're not interested. And so the PNC remained in government for those 2 years. So that's where the consensus oil came in. Now, remember, fast forward 30 years later, when there was a similar impasse in the 5 months in 2020, I proposed that we have an interim government along the same lines that we proposed in 1990. That an interim government lasts for about 18 months to 3 years. That would clean up the electoral system, put things in place, new voters lists, biometrics, and all of that. And that we would have an interim government that include the APNU, AFC, and the PPP. But that since Granger was the incumbent, that he would remain as president of that interim government. The same proposal we made in 1990. Right? So that's where Randy got his history wrong. His history wrong. So that's where the whole story about Hoyt and consensus candidate came in. As it relates to Jagan, our position was that if we were going to have a joint slate going into 1992 election, that is a PCD, Patriotic Coalition for Democracy, which included the WPA, PPP, some other parties, the DLM and so forth. And that there was talk about going to the 1992 elections as PCD, similar to the coalition in 2015. And the question of presidential candidate came. And we felt that none of the old leaders, such as Cherry Jagan and Guyana and so on, who had been in this thing from the 50s through the 60s, that none of them should be presidential candidate, that it would be too divisive, that we should have someone outside of the political parties, meaning someone outside of the WPA, the PPP, to be the presidential candidate. And we were prepared to support Ashton Chase, who, although he was close to the PPP, had left the PPP. There was talk about Bishop Randolph George. We were prepared to support him also. Some people had proposed Clive Thomas and so on, but we were prepared to support somebody outside of the PPP and the WPA. And the PPP wanted Jagan. And we said, no, Jagan would be acceptable to Indians, but not acceptable to Africans. In the same way, Guyana would have been acceptable to Africans, but not to Indians. And so we felt that we needed to look for a neutral candidate outside. That was our objection to Cherry Jagan.
Thank you. Is it that Randy Prasad got his history wrong, or he deliberately misrepresented?
Well, only he can answer that.
The WPA lost its voice in the immediate years after 1992. It's now, by the final years of the 20th century, the WPA became a veritable right-wing ethnic movement dedicated to the rights of only one section of the Guyanese population. Let's talk about that, please.
Which one?
Did the WPA lose its voice following the 1992 elections, the years after that? And did it really become an organization, a party that was fighting for the rise of only one ethnic group in this country?
But that is his interpretation. I don't know that we lost our voice. What happened is that we became less vibrant because we functioned on a multiracial platform that is organizing both ethnic groups at the same time. And we had great success in doing that from 1974 up until 1992. We were able to mobilize and organize in both sections of the only party that was able to do that. Yeah? After the split in 1955, the PPP organized among Indians, the PNC organized against among Africans. When the AFC and the UF organized among Amerindians. When the AFC came into power, they first organized among Africans, and then after 2011, after 2011, they organized among Indians. WPA is the only modern political party that was able to organize in the two groups simultaneously. But we did that while in opposition. When it came to election, the multi-ethnic organization that we had, people resorted to their ethnic groups. And the Africans left us, went back to the PNC. The Indians left us and went back to the PPP. So after 1992, the multi-ethnic space shrunk. And it still is not there. It went away once elections came, free and fair elections came back in 1992. People went back to their ethnic camps. And that remains so to today. Now, if you're a party that is organizing based on having the two groups mobilized together, now when the two groups have gone back to their camp, where is your base? Where is your multi-ethnic base? And so the WPA therefore, lost the kind of appeal that it had. The age of revolution had gone. The Americans were now in charge of the world, and they said no more revolution. After 1983, what happened in Grenada? So as a revolutionary party, the space for revolution was taken away. And so therefore, the WPA went into decline. As he is saying, by the late 2000s, according to him, we have regained our voice, according to him. And our voice now is, according to him, supporting Black people and not supporting Indians. Now, the truth of the matter is that by the late 2000s, by the late 1990s, the only space for the WPA to organize and to do work was in the African community. Remember, the PPP had been in power from 1992. Indians were comfortable supporting the PPP, and they did not open their community to any other party. And so, for all intents and purposes, the WPA has been and continues to be shut out of the Indian Guyanese community. And the space that we have is in the African Guyanese community, which has always been a diverse community politically. Politically, there's always been a space for another party in the African Guyanese community, whether it's WPA, AFC from 2006 to 2011, there's always been a space. And it is that space that the WPA has used, according to him, from the 2000s. And we have organized and worked in that community. Would we love to, at the same time, work in the Indian community as we used to? Yes. But that community is shut off the PPP, and their acolytes have shut that community off from us. And so therefore, by default, we are organizing where we are welcome. That is what he's talking about.
Okay, again, Dr. Hines. We definitely have heard all of the assertions that the WP is dead, the PNC is dead, disorganized and so on. And we have been talking over a number of weeks that the possibilities we might be heading for early elections, snap elections, if you call it that. Do you see what I might consider new evidence that the PPP is preparing for an early election?
No, I don't see any evidence. You see, when you are the government, you get the chance to call elections whenever you are. And I don't mean Freedom House. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't have any inside evidence. Whether they're going to call early election or late election, I don't know. So I don't like to deal with that issue of snap elections.
Okay, on the international scene, two things I wanted to address. Number one, the recently concluded Venezuelan elections and the outcome. What impact it is likely to have on relations with Guyana and, relations with Guyana. And then Joe Biden pulling out of the electoral race to be replaced by Kamala Harris. Many are talking about a possible Trump victory. How do these things, the American elections especially we're talking about here, how are they likely to impact our local political and electoral?
I don't think the American, much to what a lot of people think. I don't think the outcome of the American election, one way or the other, would drastically change American policy towards Guyana. America has investment here through Exxon, and America is going to protect Exxon's interests regardless of who is in power. America is in conflict with Venezuela, and whether Trump or Kamala wins, they would like Guyana to become a jumping off spot if they're going to do regime change in Venezuela. And given what has happened in Venezuela there with Maduro, I am sure the Americans are thinking about regime change again. And I don't think that will change, whether it's the Democrats in the White House or the Republicans. America has and has always had continuity in their foreign relations. They don't change their foreign policy drastically depending on who wins or who loses. And so I do not see the outcome of those elections in America as affecting in any drastic way relations with Guyana. They're going to continue to protect their economic interests vis-a-vis Exxon. They're going to continue to have a political interest in Guyana as a jumping off spot for regime change in Venezuela. Nothing is going to change drastically, in my estimation. In relation to the elections in Venezuela, it's much more complex. If Guyana did not have a border dispute with Venezuela, the PPP would have been saying that the elections in Venezuela are free and fair. Let me repeat that. If Guyana did not have a border controversy with Venezuela, the PPP would have been siding with Ralph Gonsalves and others in saying the elections in Venezuela are free and fair. The PPP only takes the position because of our conflict with Venezuela. Now, what immediate consequences to Guyana of what happened in Venezuela? More Venezuelans will pour into Guyana because the outward migration will continue now that Maduro is back in the saddle. You already have about 10 million Venezuelans scattered all over Latin America and the Caribbean. We have an estimate of between 50 to 100,000 Venezuelans here. They're going to continue to come. Coming with them would be saboteurs, would be people who are coming to settle in pursuit of Venezuela's thing to our land. Among that 50 to 100,000, the government is going to manipulate 2 or 3, 4 seats, electoral seats, at the next election from there. So if you already have 50 to 100,000, I expect more to come over. And the more they come over, the more likely the PPP is going to use them in order to pick up seats at the coming election. Those are the immediate consequences of what happened in Venezuela for us. And of course, with Maduro there, the cry for Guyana's land is going to be more shrill. Let us not think that at the opposition won, the claim on Guyana's territory would go away. No, it wouldn't have gone away. In the last decade or so, the opposition in Venezuela was more strident than Maduro on Guyana's territory. And their coming to power would not have changed that. The claim on Guyana's territory would have remained. There is the view that they would have been less strident, but the claim would have remained.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. It's now 12 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. We're going to open up the lines so that you callers can have your say on these issues. Dr. Hines, anything you wanted to address before I go there?
No.
So the lines are open. 622-5933 is the number to call. You're tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. We're talking with Dr. Hines on several issues. And of course, you have heard the discourses. You've heard a discussion about the emancipation and the government's behavior and Dr. Randy Prasad's letter and his false claims and so on. Let's talk. Call your life. Morning, neighbor.
Morning, Dr. Hines. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, Brother Gaddafi, you're the man that you always there. And you're helping us out a lot with this program, in bringing the valid and credible information and so on. But let me give a bigger shout out to Dr. Hines. Dr. Hines, let me tell you, if you didn't know the real God said, God, if it wasn't for you, because I'm talking of how I see, the opposition, and I'm like thinking of attack for the opposition. Let me read through it, the war that needs to be done against this CVC government. But still, all is not lost. And we got to say thanks to the heavens for you that time. Because you're so much to us. You're so much to us. And I'm so grateful, and I know many of us is grateful. That's why you see when you on your program, to show you see the numbers that goes up all the time, because the work that you're doing is so great, it's incredible, it's so good for us. And the next thing, me and my cousins, they don't want to listen to your show that time. It is betting one another that you will come up with something with each judge say. And so I'm saying, we're looking forward to hear what each judge tell you that you could be able to enlighten us, because it is so valid and so credible and so good for us. Thank you so much, and continue, you and Brother Kadaki, continue to keep up this wonderful show. It is so good for us. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. And let me, while I await the other calls, take the opportunity to thank Reginald, Bentic, Ingrid, Alfred, and Patronella for contributing to the Zell for this month so far. I thank you for your contributions, and I definitely...
The Field World L4 is a
helping us to keep this program going. Call Live, good morning.
Good morning to you, distinguished gentlemen. Dr. Kadaki and Dr. Hines.
Don't give me why I walk for a while.
I am saying this to two of you. Keep up your good work, brother. Dr. Hines, my namesake. Let me tell you something. You do a lot of work with in America, but when you came here, the couple man, you came here, you spice up every single thing. And let me tell you something. All they're saying is true. The PPP shut out the community from any other party. They can't go in the community and say anything on behalf of the party. But we allowing the people to come into our space and do what they like and talk what they like. You so true what you're saying. African community have different way of thinking. Why must be a PPP? Why must be AFC? Why must be that? When you go in Indian community, they stand out one way. We is giving the one lean on PNC side, they keep coming down low. But we is blood out. Eyes like this, so eyes down. And money can't tell you what you must do. Money can't tell you what you must say. And in the man with the AFC, and you keep quiet. Quiet. You need people PNC, and you keep quiet. You be a WPA, and you keep quiet. But now the whole world that we are. But the time, respect what you are doing. I know it is tough. I know the water is rough. But keep up the fight. Because we ancestors, they go through easy times. And if they get licks to change their name, and they still survive. We getting licks physically, but mentally, we getting licks. Mentally and financially, we getting licks. Every area the people them controlling us because we are allowing them into our ear space, we are allowing them into our mindset, we are allowing them to our spiritual realms. We weak, Dr. Hines. We weak. I say you or me or Kadaki. The percentage of us is so weak that you don't know how strong we are because you know why?
I'm getting a little money here in keep with another man. That's what you say. At the end of the day, Mr. Hines from Sekudaki is a rough road that got people going forward. I don't know how long you will live, but I know you're trusting that you could get it right. And I hope that before our eyes shut as seniors, we get it right. We can react together. Nobody wants to be no racist, but protect your ears, please. Protect your ears, please. Look in the mirror, and when you look in the mirror, look at who you see. You see your ancestors who fight for we. But the picture with had you chain, had you walking with nothing to eat and plus beating you, having slept with your wife in front of you and you can't do nothing, and still you allow these people to go back at the same thing. Why are we doing this to ourselves that times? Look at that young and Africans. Come on.
I don't know.
Well, I don't want to take much of your time.
Thank you for your call. Let me acknowledge the contribution of Rosamond, the first contribution to the Cash App for this month. Thank you, Rosamond. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Dr. Hines, someone is asking about the WPA seat at the Dean Department. The questioner says someone is sitting on it illegally. They want to know what the situation with that.
But that is a matter for the leader of the list, Mr. Granger. The arrangement we had was that Sister Tabitha Sarbo, who was then a member of the WPA, would serve half the term, and another WPA member, Brother Ali Majid, will serve the other half of the term. Mr. Granger awarded the seat to Ms. Sarbo. We had said the order should have been Ali Majid, first half, Sarbo, second half. Mr. Granger awarded the seat to Sarbo, ignored our advice on how we want the seat to go. And Ms. Sarbo subsequently left the WPA, and so she's left with the seat, or he left her with the seat. So that is where that is. He's the leader of the list. He is in receipt of our directions and how the seat should be rewarded. And he did what he did. And Ms. Sarabo is holding the seat. He is not recalling her from the seat. And so that is a matter for them to work out. Now, I want to say something, thanks to the two callers for the confidence in us. I want to say that since July 31st at the line top, I walked around the village and I went to some of the young people's story. In the village day, they had the village day and so on and so forth. And I made a couple of appearances. I have never been hailed in recent times by young people as I was. And there were young people there from Buxton, and the rest of the country come from Georgetown and the rest of the villages that the village stayed there. And I myself was surprised that I'm even recognized by young people. And that opened my eyes that we may be misunderstanding our young people. I said that on this program many times before, but it has become more manifest in the last week or so. Like I said, I am even surprised that they recognize me. And they were eager to talk. And all they were talking about is changing. They're not even talking about the bad things that are happening. They are talking about the good times to come. I gave the story of the young lady who told me she's 23. She said she voted for the first time in 2020. She was disappointed in the way Mr. Granger gave away the government to Kotor. And in the local government elections, she said she went in and she intentionally spoiled her vote. And she planned that the next election to stay home with her children and sleep, because she don't believe anybody fighting for she and she black children to quote her. But when she saw us in that picture at the line top, and she recognized that somebody from Buxton and somebody black standing up for her, she decided that she will vote at the next election. Note what she said. Somebody standing up for Buxton and somebody standing up for black people. And when she saw us bring the other two leaders to Buxton and hold on, it inspired her and changed her mind about what she thought about black political leaders. So I just wanted to give those anecdotes that sometimes the wheel is slow to turn, but it turns nevertheless.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. Follow your life.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Hines. Okay, that please. How this whole week, I'm sure good, but it's still thing. Anyway, so what Dr. Hines just said there, we got to remember last year when we used to do those walkabout meetings, Leader Norton, at the time the AFC wasn't thing, Leader Norton came to Buxton and stood on a stage there with myself, Dr. Hines, and all of us with meetings. And that showed that with all people may have a lot of things to say about Norton. He came and he stood and he knew that they were WP, and he didn't show no discard in coming and standing on stage and talking at the WPA forum. Now people would blame and say all kind of things. This election that is coming, each and every African person should come out and vote. Because you don't come out and vote, you're going to give the win to the PPP. And I want black people to sit down and study from 2020 to now. What is the life of black people? Even unto those who are in the political higher places, they're like the prime minister and so, they have no say. Coming to the emancipation, I remember when Olich came here a few days prior to emancipation and said she was the minister who went to the UN to talk on the decade of Africans, and she don't want no splitting. Yet when the money was to be issued from youth, sports and culture, all the PPP political operatives went to that meeting where that should have been the African emancipation people going to the meeting. And all the PPP operatives were being given how much money? I think the NAMCEL got to the tune of 500,000 that went to the CDC. The CDC, one of the persons who is supposed to be in the African organization, is a double letter because he was instituting that we come together with the CDC. Anyway, when the CDC got the money and they didn't get money, we had to come together and pool to make our thing. Well, up to now, we aren't being repaid, so I don't know when we're going to get back the money. Anyway, libation emancipation this year was the worst ever because probably the only outpouring of libation in Buxton.
Good morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 7 hours 33 on the 19th day of August in the year 2024. I am your host, Kiraki Amsterdam. How you been? How was your yesterday? How was your last night? How you sleep? how you wake up. What are you optimistic about today? Well, I got some things, nicks and knacks I want to talk about. And I want you all to share with me so we can understand the depth of the frustration of people in this society when it comes to some things. Right? Some things. As a matter of fact, it might be a lot of things. Anyways, what makes you optimistic? Have you been able to achieve those set goals? I hope you have. And if you haven't as yet, I hope you will. Let's suggest yesterday. I was missing yesterday. Yesterday, I hosted no program. And you all know me, I'm a man of truth. I just come and tell you all as it is. Tiredness one. Tiredness one. I usually get up early. 4:30, I'm usually up in the mornings to prepare for program and so on. Yesterday morning, I guess I was a bit earlier than that. And I said, listen, I tired, man. I lie down a little bit more. And when I called myself, it was 6:30. So, well, if the body is saying rest, then I shall rest. And so I didn't fight up with the program yesterday because we were already late. And so for those of you who were disappointed, I'm sorry. Yeah, I am sincerely sorry. But I'm sure you understand what tiredness is. And I'm no longer a young man, you know. I'm older now. And so the things I used to do prior, I might try them still, but that doesn't mean I will succeed. Good. My body can't take the long over rockings all the time, man. And I've been at it for weeks leading up to the 1st of August. And that hard work continues because now we have a business expo on the 25th of August. So it's work all the time. Not to mention that I have to make my own living. I have to earn my own keeps. So regardless of what I'm doing on the one side for organization and community and so on, I still have to do for myself, right? That makes it doubly hard. Yeah, and that reality struck me once again this morning. We had karaoke last night, as is usual. Let me say, big up yourself to the Psalms. Big up yourself to the Psalms. The Psalms, I'm happy to see you every time you come because, as they say, we got blood, you know. Right, we are Psalms alike. Good. Yeah, and big up all those who came out last night to support the karaoke, especially one who I consider my sister these days. She does come from far. Morning, Janet. Yes, and every time she dances, I'm happy. I'm happy at heart. I like to see her dance. Right. She reminds me of a lot of the African culture when she dances. Good. So thank you all for coming down last night. It was a blast. It was a blast. I had fun. Enjoyed listening to folks sing and song. It's not what you might consider a big crowd and so on, but it was an active one, and that is encouraging. So thank you for that. I went in late. Those who were here will know the time or approximate time I went in. I went in late. And so this morning I almost struggled to get up again. But I said, no, I can't do that. I can't make that happen. There's no way Cam's TV, Guyanese Morning Time should be off the air twice in 1 week, day after day, because the host is tired. Nah, I know about making those sacrifices. Good. So I want us to talk about the traffic congestion here, there, and everywhere. How you think the government, the authorities, the contractors could prevent the kind of traffic congestion we're seeing on a daily in and around the city? You wake up every morning, or you wake up one morning and you find out a bridge is being repaired there, and so is traffic madness on the road. You find out that a road is being extended there, and it's traffic madness. on the road. Why do Guyanese have to awake and find out that there are going to be some restrictions on free flow of traffic because a contract is to be executed here or a contract executed there? Why is it Guyanese are not given adequate notice, forewarning? Why aren't we forewarned that, listen, this is going to happen there on from this time? That is going to happen there on this day from this time. Also, I noticed signage on these projects. Signage on these projects. And when I say these projects, I'm extending it now. It's not only on the roads, but buildings, infrastructure in general, buildings also. Little or no signage. You cannot look at a construction happening and say, oh, that is a Kennel Day building, because there's a sign that says kennel to house all the loud barkers of the PPP. Or cage to hold all those who are making monkey antics in the PPP. There's nothing on this construction site to, at a glance, help citizens to understand what is happening in their environment. Nothing whatsoever. My short visit to the US, I can tell you, you look at a construction site, it's usually, as I would say, wrapped, dependent on whether or not it's a building or whether it's a road. But most building construction on the fence, which is usually secured, you have information as to what is being constructed, who is doing the construction. I can't remember if it would carry estimated time for construction, but that information is out there. The public gets access to it. And so you can plan because you're informed. Likewise, you use the roadways, you see lighted signs saying, listen, construction is going to take place on this stretch of road from point A to point B between the hours of Y and Z. And so if you pass in the morning and you see a sign like that saying construction will take place from X hour in the afternoon, you know to plan to avoid being stuck in traffic in that area, maybe on your return journey. You know to plan. If there's a detour, the sign for detour is maybe miles away from where the detour is, advising you that detour is coming up so many miles ahead. You plan for that. You can act accordingly. In Guyana, in this damn, sometimes I feel forsaken place, you have to find yourself in a line long from Legazette to Hueha and wonder what is happening in front of you. Is it an accident? Is it a police roadblock? What is causing the delay? And you're fuming in your fumes in the long lines. And when you get to the front, you realize, oh, is a diversion. Oh, they're doing this piece of road. Oh, they're fixing one of the holes in the middle of the day. Total disrespect for citizens. Total disrespect for citizens. Why Guyanese have to continue to put up with this? What can we do? What should we do? What ought to be done by the authorities to prevent this kind of I don't know, frustration? Because that is what it comes down to, frustration. The other night, the roadway agent said Jumbie. It's causing the contractor not to finish it on time. Cemetery Road? Yeah. That place is a death trap. The other night I was coming from somewhere, I think west of Cemetery Road. Came off the highway. Yeah, came off the East Bank Highway. Drove through Cemetery Road. And oh boy, if I want to alert, I was going to find myself smack dab in a pile of stone. Right at the end of the detour, right at the end of the detour is a large pile of sand. The area is totally black, not lit at all. Imagine the danger that is putting motorists at. I wasn't speeding, but a driver approaching my vehicle, approaching from the opposite side, had on high beam. Had on high beam. Those killer lights that the Guyana police force traffic department is paying no attention to. No attention to. White lights, high beam, as if the drivers are hunting. Daytime, nighttime, anytime they got them on. And so it's like I was blinded by the light. And there in front of me is a pile of stone, a whole pile of stone, no reflector, no light, no arrow signal, nothing whatsoever. To say to motorists, beware, there's a whole big pile of stone in front of you. That is the value this government and the contractors place on the lives of Guyanese. Do what you want. Do what you want. There's no protocol to follow. Just do what you want. And like I'm saying, there are things that the traffic department can focus on to improve safety on the roadways. Those white lights. Every vehicle now has a flashing light. A whole lot of obstructions along the roadsides. Can you imagine? And I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers here because I'm talking about where I live right now. If you have to cross the Buxton line top to go north and or south, the vehicle has to be perhaps halfway into the road before you can see left or right. And it doesn't only happen in Buxton. It happens all around the land. The other day I was coming out of vigilance. There's a cross street by the Chinese just after the vigilance police station. And right at the corner is a big sand truck parked. So if you're coming from north, to go west, you have to turn around that sand truck, but most importantly, you have to be more than in the half of the road to see the oncoming traffic, a stone's throw away from the police station. And that is not noticed. Obstruction, obstruction, obstruction. A food caravan here, a parked truck there, unmovable, an old car there, and the Guyana police force. And the Ministry of Public Works, or public infrastructure, whatever they call themselves, are not doing what is necessary to ensure that road users are not exposed to these kind of dangers posed by these parked vehicles and other obstacles to the line of sight for drivers. These are little things which we can fix in our society to preserve life. What else is fretting me this morning, bothering me? I was about to use the other word. I'm going to show you some videos of Starbucks Market area. That area immediately outside or opposite what used to be the Co-op Bank. That area where they have 2 stalls now recently constructed by the municipality in the passageway. In the passageway, blocking off the wind, the breeze, aeration for those people who operate there regularly. I want you to see these images, and I want you all to tag the mayor. What is his name? Is his name Mentor? Y'all tag the mayor and ask the mayor, why is it? I'm sure the market has, or the council has, people who are supposed to be cleaning the markets. You see this filth here? This filth, if you notice, to my right, it might be to your left, is one of the new stalls in the middle of the passageway. But look at the filth between that and the stalls which existed before. Look at the mess in between there. Are we saying there are no market inspectors to inspect the assets of the mayor and town council, mayor and city council, and ensure that the environment is properly preserved? That is what they expect people to ply their trade in and pay them taxes on a daily basis for. How fair can that be?
I don't
How
know.
healthy
I don't.
can
I
that
don't
be?
know. I don't. I don't know. I don't. I don't know. I don't. I don't
How
know.
healthy can it be?
I don't know. I don't. You carrying back the water?
Right? This is a vendor having to pay to clean up the area. That's the whole idea. What is happening over at the mayor and town council, mayor and city council? Where is the mayor?
I want to go to work. Watch where I got work.
Where are the
I can't even
inspectors?
open plenty days. Oh shoot. Yeah?
How can people attract clientele to their stalls
So if I didn't get for call, I have
if the place is in such?
there's why when I
Amok.
file the rubbish tree. Watch.
Y'all talk to
And they
me.
move it, they just bring it and they just dump it there and left it. Yeah. They're doing a lousy job. That's learning.
Let me show you this. Why you bring another fresh thing and put it again? Then the badge here, son. Who bring a badge here with some skin and they got tracy?
Who bring the window?
Who bring the Ari?
Me know. Ari, who bring them?
Me know.
Tell me the truth. If you tell me the truth, we can resolve this problem.
Red man. Red man. Red man. Red man. Red man. Touch it for me. You don't got no arm to it. Nas, I want you to send them things to me. All right, I'm gonna do it ready for
I'm showing you that when we clean in there, right? There's no cream, right? But what it can't creep there, no one. You see straight over there this time, right? You can see.
I want you got onion
Watch now? Yes, watch on never stand there, straight over there. Since here, bail them, then this out there. And when you're talking about it,
put my number in your phone first. Red man. I want you to wake up. Catch it. 644 2424. Red man. Red man. Red man. Get up, I want to go install. Red man. Them arm thing there's the one. Where you collect it from? No. You don't know about that? Okay. This cardboard there, you don't know about them neither. You can pick up the cardboard, but you don't know about that. Alright, we ain't got a problem. You pick up where you want, pick up left where you want left. Me ain't paying nobody for do council work no more. I stop paying for do council work. I ain't doing this no more. When I want to come in there, I can jump over like everybody else. Leave sleep. Leave sleep. You know what? Council give them authority to do that. If the council was doing a good job, they wouldn't be out there. You understand? Me, I ain't gonna get myself involved with junkie. I just want to make certain.
And then yours want to walk on the council lesson and I
He's a little this water, right?
You
just touch the dirty water today. And I wrong some bring my bag. You don't come so up. What's going on? Ian, wake up, you pee, and you're going back to bed.
Hola,
Watch
ay.
Ian, wake up, you pee, and you're going back to bed.
Listen, you know, I usually tell y'all, I am an equal opportunity beater. If you can't get it right, it's time for you to move on. Right? If you cannot get it right, it's time for you to move on. There have been a lot of complaints that the current mayor and city councillors are not doing enough. They're not doing enough. Enough is not being done to ease the burdens, if I can call them that, on the people who are expected to pay them rates and pay them taxes in the city of Georgetown. I know y'all going to tell me the PPP going to be forced to jump up and say, it's coalitions of controlling the town council. But you know the PPP has a way of putting their town clerks in place to humbug the plans in progress. Of the opponents in these town councils, in these municipalities and neighborhood democratic councils. But while I know these challenges exist, I think in many instances, office holders, office bearers are too nonchalant about what they were hired, what they were elected to do for the citizens. I can tell you I've gotten complaints that in that same area, it might be approaching a year now, since the current mayor promised to visit and hear the concerns of the vendors in that area. Instead of them getting that visit, another stall was constructed in the passageway, obstructing the airflow. Instead of them getting that visit, the dumping of garbage in between the passageway there continues. Those of you who are looking and who looked at the video would have seen the state of overflow from the drainage system. The sewer is overflowing. Is it not just and right and fair for citizens to expect a better environment than that, where food is being sold, as in vegetables, fruits and vegetables, etc.? Is it not the onus of the mayor and town council to ensure that the sanitation of market areas are maintained to the highest possible standard? Is it not fair to expect the mayor and town council to perhaps host a weekly, monthly press conference to say to the residents, to the citizens, to the vendors, etc., in the city what the current state of things are? If the government is withholding funding, shouldn't you be informing the residents, the city dwellers, and so on, that the government is withholding funding? Or is it okay to just sit in office and throw your hands up in the air and say, let the PPP do what the PPP wants? The PPP is not allowing us to do anything that we think can improve the lot in the city and even around the country at the neighborhood democratic council, etc. We want fighting representatives. Fighting representatives. Too many of our representatives are prepared to just sit back and take what is handed to them. We have to demand more from them, and they have to deliver more to us. Imagine overseas-based Guyanese coming home to the fastest growing economy. Right? Overseas-based Guyanese coming home to the fastest growing economy. And encountering this level of filth in the year 2024, especially when 4 years prior, the city was in a better state. Are we going to have to continue every time the PPP is in office to live in filth and our garden city, as they call it, be a showcase for nastiness? I'm going to show you 2 more videos.
Look at this shit.
And listen to the commentary. I want you to hear the commentary. Look at that one.
Look at this shit. This is beyond belief. Look at this. Look at this shit. This is beyond belief. Look at this. Look at this. The drain can't even go flow freely. Clogged up with plastic bottles, plastic bags. Look at this. Look at this. This is unacceptable.
Look at that alleyway.
Look at God. Look at this. This is beyond belief. Look at this. Look at this shit. This is beyond belief. Look at this. Look at this shit. Look at this. Look at this. The drain can't even go flow freely. Clogged up with plastic bottles, plastic bags, grass. Look at this. This is unacceptable. For the love of God, look at this. Jesus. Thanks. Look at this. Look at this. The drain can't even go flow freely. Clogged up with plastic bottles, plastic bags, grass. Look at this. This is unacceptable. For the love of God, look at this. Jesus. Thanks. Look at this. Look at this. The drain can't even go flow freely. Clogged up with plastic bottles, plastic bags, grass. Look at this. This is unacceptable. For the love of God, look at this. Jesus. Thanks.
Is that what people are coming home to see?
Look at this. The drain can't even go flow freely.
Is that what this fastest growing economy has to
plastic
offer
bottles.
citizens? All the time I show you our videos and idea on screen. What a thing. I'm going to start over. Yeah, don't worry. When we got time. It's Free Talk Friday, so we're going to start over. It happens to the best of us, especially when we're tired. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't 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 I don't know. I don't
You carry back the water?
Now look at the videos now. Since you were only looking at me.
I want to go to work. Watch where I got work. I can't even open plenty days.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah?
They went to clean up the other.
Yeah, I talked to him, Mayor. He said he's sending people to clean up.
Yeah,
However, I didn't get for come. I had some things to do.
They must only clean the front.
There's why doing I hear they left all the rubbish. Watch. And they move it, they just bring it and they just dump it there and left it. Yeah. They're doing a lousy job. That's morning.
Let me show you this thing.
Who bring them? Who bring Ari? Ari, who bring them? Tell me the truth. If you tell me the truth, you will resolve this problem. Red man. Red man. Red man. Red man. Red man. Touch it for me. You don't got no arm thing. Nah, I want you to send them things to me. All right, I'm gonna do it right before
I'm showing you that when we clean in there, right? There's no clean, right? But what it concrete there, no one. You see straight over there, right? You can see.
I want. What's going on? Peeing. Wake up, you pee, and you're going back to bed.
Look at this shit. This is beyond belief. Look at this. Look at this shit. Look at this. Look at this. The drain can't even flow freely. Clogged up with plastic bottles, plastic bag, grass. Look at this. This is unacceptable. For the love of God, look at this. Jesus. Thanks. Look at this. Look at this. The drain can't even flow freely. Clogged up with plastic bottles, plastic bag, grass. Look at this. This is unacceptable. For the love of God, look at this. Jesus. Thanks. Look at this. Look at this. The drain can't even flow freely. Clogged up with.
So you've seen it for yourself. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Call and let's talk the thing. Let's talk about all of this. I just want to use one word: disrespect citizens. Let's talk about the disrespect to citizens. That's what I want to call it. Call it life.
Yes, good morning to you. Welcome back to all my African brothers and sisters in Guyana. I'm gonna leave the part for somebody else to comment on that. What I want to comment on this morning, and it is very, very, very disrespectful to Black people and them children in Guyana. And this message going direct to the three powerful leaders, Mr. Ardinarton, Mr. David Knight, and Mr. Nigel Hughes. Where's the news? Where's the afternoon news? GCOM come out and said that Claire Singh don't have no power to introduce biometrics or something like that, because it is not in the constitution for she to introduce that. I believe Jack Dio is sending a message to the Black people in Guyana. Look, are you three leaders them serve towards we only people? Because 2020 election, Roxanne George said that she get range of power to do what she did in the 2020 election. She gave Article 60. That wasn't in the Constitution. But she got power to give out Article 66 and give a recount before the president sit in office. She got power to tell the man, I can't remember his name, who in charge of that office, who's supposed to count good vote and give it to she. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
And give it to she for she announced the winner. First she said, put the 47 boxes, the style vote, the bucket vote one side. And when the man give all, do duty under the Constitution, she said, give all the right number. She said, no, put all them bucket vote now, come back the 47 boxes with the one I vote, dead vote, bucket vote, name them. for put them fully in office. I do hope black people paying attention to that news, what G-Con come out and said, that kind of thing don't have no power. In other words, we give no free election then. I'm telling these three leaders there, I'm trying to say, for me, I get 30 days for shut that country down. It's totally disrespect to black people and their children today. For what G-Con come out and said. Guyana get about 50,000 lawyers. I do hope a lawyer getting ready for go Monday morning to Wax and George and said, remind she get power to give a fair election and give biometrics, because she get power for give Article 16 and power for tell Holyfield to put Adam style vote, to put a president inside, what is a totally disrespect to Guyanese children them today. It is time for them three leaders, stop talking the talk, stop coming up on program and press conference, begin to sit down and create a plan to shut the country down, shut the oil company down too, because black people and American people not even getting a teaspoon of oil. Who enjoy the oil money is the CARICOM leaders them, America, Canada, England, Holy people, Portuguese, Chinese, them who enjoy it. But today or tomorrow, black man have to go and fight the bad. That's why when the government change, the not never make up your mind, go in parliament and pass a law that every male in Guyana, they got to fix our age. Got to serve that country. They got to represent that oil money. They got to represent the oil. Because if that Cody boy could say plain that if you get the will, he kill out a black man, therefore you know for kill. Therefore you got to go at the bar and kill. Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for your call. Now let me talk about the declaration, or what the news reported as GCOM saying that the commission, or Claudette Singer's Flash Garden says, doesn't have the authority to introduce biometrics as part of the verification processes, etc., come elections day. It is a fact. The commission can't just get up and say, well, we're going to use biometrics. Because if in my mind, they're using biometrics already, because they take your fingerprint, you have to sign, and so on when you apply for an ID card and things. They take your signature and they take thumbprints, fingerprints, and so on. But so those are part of biometrics, fingerprinting. But to use it as part of the verification process on election day is another issue. That has to be protected by law. If you remember, when they introduced the voter ID card during the time of Desmond Wright, the voter ID card, I think it was Desmond Wright's time, with the encouragement of card center, etc. The use of the ID card was eventually questioned, challenged in court. There was an election petition which questioned and challenged the use of the voter ID card, and I'm sure the court ruled that it was unlawful. Right? It was. And so if we have to utilize, if we want to utilize biometrics, which we see as so important to free, fair, and credible elections, political action must take place. Legislative action must take place. And that is the parliamentary parties especially would have to get together and pass a law permitting the use of biometrics. The question is the PPP likely to support the passage of any law to allow for the use of biometrics in verification on election day? Since we are of the opinion that they are the bigger beneficiaries beneficiaries from electoral fraud, voter impersonation, and so on, one would immediately conclude, no, they're not likely to want to support it. But does that mean that the opposition should not table a motion in Parliament for such a bill? No. I think the opposition should table such a bill in Parliament. Let the Speaker and the rest of the PPP and so on decide whether or not it will be permitted. And then let the people of this country take a stand. Because unless the people take a stand and stand behind their representatives, we're not likely to get biometrics as part of the electoral process. Good? So the news did report incorrectly. The news certainly reported correctly that GCOM, Climate Singh, and the rest of commissioners, they can't just make that happen. A good case in point is the same tax issue with GRA and the 10%, moving from 10% to 30%. My understanding is that while the news, I think, or I interpreted in the news that GRA unilaterally increased the rate of charge, understanding the government actually passed the bill. But they failed to gazette it. It was not a gazetted order. And so it was not legal. But I'm saying again, citizens have to take a stand and force their politicians to do what is best for this country. And in this instance, it's passed a law that will permit the use of biometrics for verification on election day. Call it live.
Good morning to Mr. Kadaki and the listening viewers and the and around the world. God bless this channel. My thing this morning is that even to the baby in the cradle now, every time the PPP in office, lawlessness break loose. Look at all the murders with good and intelligent brothers and sisters. Look at liar. So long as you got lawlessness, people take chance and do lawless stuff. And that video that you showed earlier, instead of walking around with money and doling out to people, find job. For people clean the drain, the clogs up drain, just so you can walk out with the money and pay people, especially the guys that's sleeping on the pave. Give them gloves and stuff and long boots and let them clean the clog drains. I went on the East Coast in Islington and I see some bottles in drain. This government doesn't have a clue how our country run. They don't have a clue. It's showing every day. And every time they're in office, they turn a blind eye on Georgetown. But you know what? In some countries, as they want to George Young be like that, people would have break it up and done. Break it up. Break it up and see who gonna punish more, who gonna perish more. As the mind bad, like little children, that when their mother got out to a scratching match, flying monkeys and lighting this and that, break up the country. And we sit down too long. It's time we come out. I've been watching at a clip here by been talking about the earnings for month. Guy, we sit too long. Too much money among these squander and thief. And we sit down so long and things can't put in place. We got to do better than that. Long we supposed to be out on the road. And if the international countries see the confusion of the 2020 elections and they're waiting for see something else occur, this election that coming up, them and all their on stupidness. Because this time it's going to be terrible. it would be terrible. Guyanese got to get up and get hit the street. Don't wait on opposition and leader. Hit the street. You have a blessed day.
Thank you, caller. Well, I see someone say the caller is promoting destruction. The question is, how do you destroy what is already destroyed? That's a question. How do you destroy what is already destroyed? I think it's necessary at times to upset the status quo, to bring people's attention to what is not functioning. Broke it up, I don't interpret broke it up literally. Broke it up means create obstructions, stop the baby party, take a stance. In other countries, they would have done just that. They would have marched on the city. Guyanese, for some reason or other, we continue to sit back and accept. What? Don't we, can we take a page out of the book of other people who are standing up for their dignity? Or don't we have dignity, or we don't believe that we're entitled to our dignity? Call it life.
Yeah, good morning to that too. Now with the first set of comments you were talking about these roads. When they did a addition to our road on the West Coast here, from the time they put out the extra shoulder, excuse me, you would find about 10 heaps of sand, 22 tons back to back. Then you would find like about another 4 heaps of stone. There must be about 10 tons heap stone. By the time you pass the stone, then now that's on the parapet, you know. When you pass the stone, you might get a couple minibus of car. Well, now the stone is there, not standing. But you got them big 50-ton truck. When it's empty, without load, it is 50 tons. So that too, the park up there. Then you get a couple things. So now you a pedestrian or a pedecyclist, you gotta ride out now in the main carriageway where the vehicle come, the traffic there. And the traffic don't got time with you. Because they tell themselves that you automatically gotta walk mostly in the air or ride in the air so that they could take over the road. Because these things on the road don't move. Now, I used to be buying sand, 22 tons to do work within the village. I could remember one day I bought sand. I used to go buy sand when I know my workmen coming to work. And the day it rained after the sun come, and the men couldn't come to work because the sun turned to like porridge. Anyway, see, by the time the afternoon, people in my village, in my street, went to the Denhamsdale police station and reported me that I had sand on the road in the street, you know. One of my neighbors, a little by the scope bush, when he watched it in the morning, he said, North Lane, this is so unsafe. I started straightening them for you. We had to try and fetch in the sun. That people go to falling down the car and see the all kind of thing in the street. Car around the lane to buy sand. And this bicycle support me waited when he was going back in the bush. Bringing a truckload of sand. Sand come about 3 o'clock in the morning. 5 o'clock he bust out bush and he left it on the road. He spent a couple of weeks in the bush and then come out. And he showed them what he could do. Now these people, since this road built, the public road, public highway, they don't have respect for anybody. And there is where the government and the traffic police and them should at least say, if you buy these things, you cannot have them on the road for more than such and such a time. And they're going to have to clear up the roads, but they don't care. So when people see the issue going on, now when it comes to the garbage, Guyanese, we cannot blame everybody. We got to blame the people who dump. Because I could remember as a little girl, everybody had the little rubbish heap and they burning the rubbish in the yard. But since these people started dump here, dump there, that is causing things. When you look at the waterways, how it is being blocked with all them boxes, pampers, this stuff. Because people now, they want to get sophisticated. They want to have garbage. So come, they start at the small thing. And as it spent 2 months, 3 months, they start to increase. So eventually now, added to the thing, no proper salary increase. You're now fixed with garbage, and now you got to remove the garbage. So hence, if you can't afford drum, you're going to wait in the night and litter. I got the same problem here. Some of my children are watching at them. They start a new campaign litter and in front of me. But I'm preparing for my concert next week, Sunday, and I got it. So what you see after Sunday, when the concert done, I don't care who vets. Once I get the children littering in front of me, station for them. Because I just clean from my parapet to the back of my yard, back of the yard to the parapet. When it comes to the Georgetown problems, Yuvraj Narayan was a mayor. That man, you saw his statue, a little short Indian man, and he stood up with his government neck and neck to garner things for the people in the city. Look the things that Yuvraj Narayan has done in his mayoral tenure and compare to the thing what they got now. He is big there, but what is he doing? Everybody could see the vast difference between the two persons. That was like when David go and killed Goliath. He is a Goliath, and what is he doing? He ain't doing nothing. When you watch at the time, when you hear certain things, I don't really see the man. So I don't know. You used to see your Raj making the news all the time. All the time he making the news. Because he was fighting on issues for the people. What is mayor doing? I don't know. When it comes to the junkies, them sleeping all around, well, you know what to do with them though. But it is hard to see people, and what the people got to realize that many persons do buy things from these vendors. And if a conscious person who knows what could be transmitted on the thing, the vendor is going to suffer. Because me ain't going to lie when I go and buy something that is being bitten by rats, and the next thing I got health issues, I will pass it. So I think that it is high time for the mayor take a permanent fixture and come out and try to do something. Everybody does, oh, we ain't get the money. If you know you don't get the money, still shop, let the people know you don't get money. And now with the thing will come out of GCOM, I am glad that they put it out as well. So we got to up our game to see where we could go and have the things for the election to come out. Because if GCOM could turn and say, that's about GCOM, can't do this. But when was last local government, GCOM could see that people use phone to tell them who to vote for, you know. And up to now, GCOM has not come out with an official report of the 2023 local government election. We saw the three men at Buxton. And I will be getting a talk with them somehow that it is time they approach GCOM to let GCOM release and let us know what we will be doing for the up and coming election. We must now, we don't got the team. We show the team Let us go as a team and ask our conditions for the new election that is fastly upon us. We want to hear at the last hour, they go, oh, the kind of me can't come late. Then we got little time. We stepping up the ante for what we want for the 2025 general and regional elections. And we want GCOM to come out and give us the election results of the 2023 local government election. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your call. You see that obstruction and so on that I'm talking about on parapets and so. These things are easily dealt with. They're bylaws. Yesterday, and this is the Buxton. You see, yesterday I was in the Bachelor's Adventure area doing some work, doing some announcement for the Buxton Falls NDC, and one resident stopped me and he said, I would like the NDC to fine or surcharge absentee landowners, absentee proprietors who have their properties becoming jungles in the neighborhood. The NDCs are permitted to do that. Send their workers to clean it and then send the bill to the proprietor. The NDCs and the municipality, they are empowered to remove sand, for example. If it's obstructing the roadway, remove it. Cart it away. And I believe if the councillors and so on start to do this, if the NDC start to do this one time, people are going to take note and they're going to stop doing some of the craziness. A load of sand now is about $50,000. Who would want the NDC to cart away $50,000 worth of sand in this hard guava season? But if the NDC just turns a blind eye, then more and more people will do it. And we're going to continue to have these issues. Yes, the PPP is wicked. The PPP is vindictive. It withholds resources from these NDCs and municipalities and so on. But there are little things I am maintaining that can be done to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of these neighborhood democratic councils and municipal councils. Let our representatives stand up and do work. They were hired to do that. Call it life.
You touched on something briefly there. I didn't mean to talk on that. You know what I've been noticing across Guyana, West Coast.
Hi, I'm Steve Clements, and I.
Go ahead, caller.
Yes, is that a lot of these people you see on embankments, selling food and a lot of this stuff, a lot of them with the PPP and the civic. A lot of them. And what I have found, that those have been there for 20 years, but they're almost definitely PPP civic people. I discovered that inadvertently by accident. And then I began to pay attention to it across the country. So a lot of those people you see selling foods and in the neighborhoods and they're not moving, you say, oh, they black like me. God, them are civic and PPP people. And they're doing favors, and the PPP is doing favors for them. To the topic I want to talk about this morning, about corruption and the PPP, namely Jack Deal, because she's been there as president. The Minister of Information and Irfan Ali, and the PPP as a whole. Now, Mr. Amsterdam, I had sent to you a video from YouTube. Now, listeners, I invite you or encourage you in your spare time to listen to this video. It's on YouTube. It'll give you a proper understanding of why President Biden signed the Magnitsky's Act and signed the sanctions. The sanctions that are placed on Guyana aren't placed on May Thomas. They're placed on the executives of the executive branch of Guyana. Understand that. That implicates Jack Deere, Irfred Ali. And those sanctions potentially have retroactive things because they're going years back. So when you look at the video, you will get a more legal and academic understanding of why those sanctions were placed. When you hear the video, you keep Jack Deere and the PPP in mind. Mr. Amsterdam, could you run the video for the first 3 minutes? They can look at it for the rest.
I have a question. We hear a lot about one of the strongest Western sanctions against Russia, the Magnitsky Act, but what's the story behind it? And who was Magnitsky? Let's get to the bottom line. Ever since invading Ukraine 2 months ago, Russia's become the most sanctioned country in the world, with more than 5,000 specific sanctions targeting individuals, industries, companies, and organizations. It's going to take months and perhaps years before Russia feels the full force of these measures. And we saw some of the first effects just last weekend when European sanctions took effect against trucks from Russia and Belarus. All told, they'll keep about $1 trillion in Russian assets from flowing through the markets and banking systems of America and its partners. One of the most powerful Western tools to isolate Russia is the Magnitsky Act, a recent law that allows the U.S. government to sanction specific people identified as corrupt or human rights abusers. Different versions of the law have already spread to the EU, the UK, Canada, and many other countries, and it's been a real thorn in the side of Russian President Vladimir Putin since day one. So how and why did Putin become so obsessed with this law, and how is it being used in Russia and beyond? Today, we're talking with two of the people who've been personally involved in the Magnitsky Act from the beginning. Congressman Jim McGovern is a Democrat who has represented Massachusetts in Congress for more than 25 years and wrote the Sergei Magnitsky Rule of Law Accountability Act and introduced its follow-up, the Global Magnitsky Act, in 2016. And Bill Browder, the founder of Hermitage Capital Management, whose company was at one time the largest foreign portfolio investor in Russia. It's his lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, who allegedly was killed in a Russian jail in 2009, setting off the chain of events that leads us to today. Bill has just published his second book telling his story, and it reads like a real thriller. Freezing Order, a true story of money laundering, murder, and surviving Vladimir Putin's wrath. Thanks to both of you for joining us. And I just have to start at the beginning with the name Sergei Magnitsky. And I just want to tell our audience, when you read this book, you'll learn that former U.S. Congressman Dana Rohrabacher worked very hard to try to keep Magnitsky's name from being on a version of bill. It was there. We're going to get to that in a moment. But tell us, Bill Browder, who Sergei Magnitsky was.
Sergei Magnitsky was my Russian lawyer. I ran the largest foreign investment fund in Russia called the Hermitage Fund back in the 90s and early 2000s. My offices were, I should say that I started pointing out corruption in the companies I invested in. The authorities didn't like that. They expelled me from the country, declared me a threat to national security, raided my offices, seized my documents, and those documents were used in a complex and very cynical $230 million tax rebate fraud in which officials stole $230 million of taxes that my firm had paid. I hired the smartest lawyer I knew in Moscow, a guy named Sergei Magnitsky. At the time, he was 35. He worked for an American law firm. He was the one who uncovered the fraud, figured out who was involved, testified against those officials, and in retaliation, he was arrested, tortured for 358 days, and murdered in Russian police custody on November 16th, 2009. And it's been my mission since his murder. I put aside all of my business activities to go after the people who killed him and make sure they face justice. And that's led to, I guess, what we're going to talk about today, and led me to Congressman McGovern, who eventually introduced the Magnitsky Act.
Congressman McGovern, you have been involved with writing this act at the very beginning. I'd like to hear about it. But I'd also like to give our audience a sense that this was not a slam dunk in this country, in the United States, at the beginning. In fact, I think one of the shocking things to me as a journalist in the media, and I look at law firms, I look at PR firms, all of us have watched the events that Bill Browder has been connected to unfold over years. And now we're acting, wow. So you were there early on. Why were you there early on? And what does the Magnitsky Act do from your perspective?
Well, I co-chaired the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission, and it's named after Tom Lantos, the only Holocaust survivor that served in Congress. And we were doing a hearing. Bill Browder testified before that hearing. That was in May of 2010, if I believe. And I listened to him tell the story of Sergei Magnitsky and the corruption and the human rights abuses that continued in Russia. And I thought to myself, we got to do something. And kind of the usual thing that members of Congress do is we issue a statement or we issue a press release or we do something. And I said to him after he testified, we need to put this into legislative form. We need to pass a bill to make it clear to those who are guilty of corruption and human rights violations in Russia and quite frankly around the world that there's a consequence. And it may not be a blanket.
There's a consequence, and that is what the Magnitsky Act is about. Ensuring that those who are engaged in corrupt practices and those who are prepared to murder and kill and maim to protect their ill-gotten gains face a consequence. Coffee had some other stuff he would have liked to share with you, but he left the line. Let's play a voice note. We got a couple of voice notes. Let me play this one.
Good morning, Brother Kayaki. Good morning to all viewers. I'd like to send a little message to all of my beautiful Guyanese people because you are beautiful and you don't deserve this nastiness. I visited Guyana past week or so, and I see young children going in the trains after their footballs with their bare hands. Listen to me, guys. This is a cholera outbreak waiting to happen in this country. I mean it. With the nastiness in the drains, the clogging up, and we still on this septic tank system, it can easily happen. I see these same children then running up to the snow cone man, buying a snow cone. You know, they're not aware or fully alert and washing their hands regularly like that unless mom or dad calls them in to do so. So something's got to be done. You have to do something. Guyana cannot handle an outbreak like cholera. God forbid. They just cannot. I see devastation here waiting to happen. Mr. Mentor, get up off your behind and clean up your city. I don't care about PPP or whoever is stifling. Come out on the road, come out on the streets, and bring attention to the people, the tax-paying people. Everyone have a great weekend.
Thank you for that voice note. I grew up as a youngster. I remember prisoners who were on short sentences or prisoners who were nearing the end of their sentences were used to help to clean up the city. At the time, I am of the opinion they used to get $1 a day or cent a day, whatever it was. I was recently told that that is not allowed anymore. Prisoners are not allowed to go out and do work. Prisoners apparently don't even man the farms that used to be operated by the Guyana Prison Service. And so, in short, prisoners are there as guests of the states, just enjoying that, being guests of the states. Whereas as part of the reform, they should be encouraged and be engaged in productive activities. Apparently, it's not happening. And maybe somebody can explain why it is the city council, for example, cannot make a request to the Guyana Prison Service for X number of incarcerated persons to do X or Y tasks around the city on a daily basis, for which usually a fee is paid to the prison authorities. And that fee includes labor cost for the imprisoned. I think there are lots of avenues for us to get things done.
despite the fact that the PPP is as malicious and wicked as they are. I think there are lots of avenues. But it also calls for strength of those who are holding constitutional offices. Because a lot of people who are holding constitutional offices and are protected by the Constitution, have security of tenure, are scared to make certain decisions because they believe the PPP will get them. And I guess their fear is justified because we've seen in many instances where the PPP was allowed to run roughshod over citizens, disregard their rights, and punish them. Simply because what? The judiciary apparently is not working or doesn't work all the time. And so I think people are justified in their fear. But when an entire society is going to live in fear, then the oligarchs will just do what they have to do or what they want to do. Let me tell you that Kingdom Academy has a math summer camp. It's called Math Summer Camp 24. The registration fee is $1,000. And the early board registration, early board registration ends today. Early board registration from the 6th to the 9th is $5,000. The program starts from the 12th and it goes until the 28th. And it will be from 9 in the morning to 12 noon, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. It's taking place at Lot 21 Midwalk Road, Buxton, right? I rather suspect again, 21 Midwalk Road, Buxton is the, I call it Pentecostal church opposite, the eastern side of Church of God, right? I rather suspect that is where the math camp is going to take place. But you can call 619-7448 or 659-5309 for further information. If you check on the Facebook page, you are going to see a link there for registration. Is the preferred way to register. Register online, and so you make the necessary contact, you get the necessary interaction. But if you know your children, especially are challenged by math, then this is the one for them. Send them out. Let them spend a few weeks sharpening their math skills. Good? Voice note.
Good morning, Kidaki and viewers. 3 visits to Guyana. The forest is getting larger. The bees are getting more plentiful, like it is a harvest. Kidaki, persons were voted in to serve the people, but they are not doing anything. I don't know what more to do. Am I lighting it on social media almost every single day? The rains are there now, and the forest getting bigger. Next thing, alligator and camudi. My grandson already caught snakes in my yard. I have little grandchildren who would normally play in the yard. I don't know what to do. What next? The people not doing nothing. They block up all the little drainers. Water not running. It's stagnant. I don't know what else to do.
Thank you for that voice note. You know, this particular issue is troublesome. I say it's troublesome because I think somewhere in the middle there, I usually don't accuse people and judge people. But I want to believe there's some amount of vindictiveness on the part of somebody at the NDC there, because I cannot understand why for so many months this proprietor, let me call her that, has been complaining that a plot of land belonging to, I can't say if the NDC has control over it. I can't say if the Regional Democratic Council has control over it,
but I know it belongs to the state. There was a building there that housed regional officials. That building was decommissioned, broken down, taken apart, and the land is left there vacant, and it has become a jungle. In a section of the village where people live, and just a stone's throw from the NDC. I've sent pictures that were sent to me to several councillors of the NDC, highlighting this problem. And so for me, the fact that it has been there so long and nobody is doing anything about it, I believe there's some amount of vindictiveness involved. Even if this land belongs to the regional government, then the NDC has the authority to again clean it and send them the bill, or insist that they get it cleaned. Why residents in that area have to be in a state of angst all the time because bees are there and they're finding snakes and the overgrowth presents a hiding place for people who intend on doing wickedness and stuff like that. And the NDC is just a stone's throw away. Carly said she doesn't know what to do. I am going to tell you what to do. Get your family and go and picket them. That might help. Right? That's my recommendation. Picket them. Let the news media come. I'm promising that today I will pick up my camera and I'm going to go right in front there and I'm going to video it. So the world can have a live view of what's happening there. Right? We have to hold our public officials accountable. You know, I try to restrain from talking things. But, you know, sometimes I just got to call on the chairman and vice chairman at Buxton Falls NDC. Right? We got some quick talkers over there, but no doers. No doers. Quick talkers, but no doers. And when you talk about them, then they say you're jealous or something like that. Good. 6225933 is the number to call. The lines remain open. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam and everyone in the diaspora. Happy Friday. One of my biggest concerns is immigration in Guyana. Because like these Venezuelan and all these people coming in, they're coming in illegal, some coming through the right channel to the airport. And when you look at MIA and when you look at the other Caribbean countries in the Caribbean, you know, my son spent 13 years in Trinidad and still didn't get his citizenship, and he came back to Guyana. I know of people who spend a lot of years in other countries. Even in Barbados, you have to spend X amount of time. And you go through such a hard time to get your citizenship. It's a shame that these people coming through the border, and then I was made to understand that they would be granted citizenship. I don't know, it's allegedly. But then, you know, in America, there's so many people here, 30-something years, and still not straight because there's certain criteria, you know, the rules. You know, you can marry somebody and get things changed. But even if you came to America and you didn't come through the right route, you can get to apply for citizenship or resident, you know. And I heard about people went to Barbados and came back and the way how they were treated, you know. I can understand the Chinese people coming. They have a city in the interior. raping our gold and airplane coming in and out, nobody checking to see properly what these people taking out. I have somebody working there, he said, you don't even know because you see a set of people come and another set come, go and come, you know, gaining all our wealth from the country, you know. Another thing I'm concerned about is these industries and the cancer that circulating. You want to know why? The occupation health and safety. You look at all these garbage that people inhaling, all these things that you're surrounding. You know, I'm really concerned, and it's like the lifespan of Guyanese is like only not even 60 because a lot of them dying. You know, and people, the health minister of health should look into certain things. You know, I'm really concerned about that. You know, the mosquitoes, if you keep your drains clean and running, you won't have all these kind of issue that going on. And I'm hoping that people be wise and concentrate, keep on the bottom house meeting and edify these people, because like I can understand. It's so sad, but I'm just praying for Guyana, and I'm just praying that things would be better. And listen, you see these people that don't want to come out and protest, I'm telling you, you wait and see. Let PNC or AFC or WPA win the election. You're going to see all those Indian people going to come out and protest. I don't know why these black people sit down and accepting these nonsense that's going on. I pray that the God may open their eyes and they be wise. You have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for that voice note. And it was the last one for the day. It's a minute past the 9 o'clock hour. I want to thank you for joining the program. I want to thank you for contributing to the program. In whichever way, whether you shared, whether you liked, whether you sent a financial contribution on the Cash App or Zelle, whatever way, I want to thank you for your support. That person who just messaged and said, I will send fees to cover 4 youngsters at the maths camp. Blessings, brother. I thank you for that. Good. We can do a lot with our little. We can do a lot with our little. Like I usually say, I'm tired of hearing people say we're in opposition, we can't do nothing. We're in opposition. But even if we don't have financial resources, we have intellect. We can think about things that we can do to help. And so let us help in a little way that we can. Good. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday. The funeral for Dr. Simpson De Silva is tomorrow. Wake is tonight at Enterprise Gardens, I think the place is called, and so on. I think last night there was a night of reflection at Congress Place. But Dr. Simpson De Silva has been, in my mind, a champion in the African Guyanese community, in particular, and the Guyanese community in general, in terms of promoting food safety and security. Good. He holds the boast of being the youngest agriculture minister ever appointed in Ghana at the time when he was appointed by then Forbes Borno. Good. Rest in peace, Simpson De Silva. Those of you who can lend strength to the family, please do. Have a good one. Like I said, see you all on Monday. Much love.